Did he have to do a 12-minute routine?
I think he did, yeah. I think so. I mean, there's a picture of him doing cups and balls, definitely. At the...
Can you imagine? I mean, that must be horrifying.
My next brilliant thing is magic, as in
but what is it?
conjuring.
Very good. Something makes me think you might have had that planned.
Have you
sitting on that for 3 weeks?
Right, you just wait till he says magic. You didn't know what order I was going to say these in. On tenterhooks. It's magic as in the conjuring, as in sleight of hand, sort of illusion, Paul Daniels, that kind of magic rather than the occult.
Yes.
I've always loved magic. Since I was 4 years old, my sister got a Paul Daniels magic set. She was older than me, and I sort of just kind of stole it, I guess. And I've loved it ever since. Would always ask for like a magic trick or a magic book for my birthday and Christmas, still do. And I got into the junior section of the Northern Magic Circle when I was probably 12, 13, joined Bradford Magic Circle as well. And then eventually, once I'd moved down to London, joined the Magic Circle. But I used to work as a magician as soon as I sort of turned 18 really, and would pay my way through university a little bit by doing gigs like close up. So I would do weddings, hotels, restaurants and events and stuff. So and I absolutely adored it. And then there was definitely a point probably in my 20s when I sort of thought, I don't know how good I was good enough, and I was quite good as a kid, but I don't think I quite translated that into becoming an adult. I think I was a little bit hack actually when I look back, and I definitely slightly distanced myself from magic, and it coincided with when I was getting into comedy, and particularly alternative comedy, and I felt that was quite cool and exciting, and maybe more creative. And I realized maybe the magic that I was doing was very quite exoteric. It was just quite sort of standard mainstream. I wasn't really kind of contributing much to the kind of progression of the art form, not to be too sort of pretentious about it, but I just thought I was quite sort of stock in trade really. But then what's been lovely, and I still would read about magic and watch magic, but I wouldn't perform it as much. And now, and I say now, I mean over the last sort of 10 plus years, I've had such a renewed appreciation of it and performing it, and I've actually allowed it to sort of creep back into sort of particularly my live stuff, sort of via Mr. Swallow. And oh my goodness, and actually, there's a lot of magicians who I knew their work, but was either too intimidated to sort of speak to, or kind of our paths didn't really cross. And actually, I've often just reached out to them, and then we've kind of got together and just sort of shown each other tricks, and it's just been wonderful. And I love it, and it's my complete escape, because I'll always have it. I mean, I don't think I'll ever work as a gigging professional, just pure magician again, but I don't mind that at all. But I love it. I love the world. I mean, it's mad. The world, it's full of weird and wonderful people. And I think
feel a bit like kind of when when I first started doing stand-up, and it was sort of like the tail end of kind of alternative comedy, where I remember the first gig I ever did in Bristol, there was a guy on before me who was eating a banana with a spoon, and he was singing the theme tune to the Sweeney. But the point is, you go, like, we're talking like Misfits, and just oddities, and it feels like stand-up now feels a lot more kind of homogenized, and there used to be people that would, like, there was a guy that would melt a block of ice, and do you know what I mean, there's a bloke called Jimbo that used to, do you know what I mean, like these kind of Brian Damage and Crystal, like these kind of like fucking lunatics in a lovely way. And I imagine magic was like that even more. But there's a lot of men, very greasy hair.
It's very men. I mean,
plastic bags.
I mean,
do you know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, it's very.
You want to see a trick?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's very. Be careful what I say. I mean, look, there's no joking around. It is very, like, 90% male. It's really bad. Like, the Magic Circle is 90% male. It's really bad.
And the women are just getting cut up.
In half, and that's it.
Put in boxes.
It's madness. But it's madness. The idea that an institution that's as old as it is has not. It's the last to move on. From its. It is so, to a degree, stuck in its ways.
So when you join the Magic Circle, what does that mean? That means you get to like hang out in a
building?
it
means access. I mean, look, it's just a club. I mean, you just pay to join, and you have to you have to pass what's called an exam, which and that can take different forms, but usually it requires an element of performance, and you sort of do a 10-12 minute set of like a routine sort of 3 or 4 tricks in front of magicians, and they judge whether you're good enough to be in. But you always are good enough to be let in.
I mean, it's a question on that.
Yes.
The Magic Circle's probably most famous member is the King.
Yeah, King Charles.
No way.
Did he have to do a 12-minute routine?
I think he did. Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a picture of him doing cups and balls, definitely. At the...
Can you imagine? I mean, that must be horrifying with his fingers as well. Just watching those sausage fingers. Is this the card? And you're like, I can't think of anything other than your porky fingers, man.
It was a number of years ago.
Yeah,
but it's bonkers. It's a lot of guys who are, to be fair, probably a lot of them are, neurodiverse. Nothing wrong with that, but if you get a lot of them sort of together, they do end up sort of reinforcing their own sort of set of beliefs and values. Certainly when it comes to sort of lack of representation and things like that. So it's a funny old organisation. They are, to be fair to them, doing as much as they can to sort of, I think, try and break away from that image and encourage youngsters and women and girls to join the club at a young age, but it's tricky because it does have a bit of a sour reputation on that front, and it's true in the States and a lot of places. But
who's your favourite magician?
Well, I would say, like, living magician, I think Darren has got to be up there, because he is just, I think we take Darren and his work and his body of work for granted sometimes, in that the sheer volume of stuff that he has put out, those shows. I mean, what number live show is he on now? 10, 11 maybe? And he walks out on stage with nothing or seemingly nothing and has 1,200, 2,000 people in the palm of his hand for like 2.5 hours. I mean, it's extraordinary, the level of, I mean, he's got, he is effectively an athlete. He is so brainy, so funny as well. Like, he's a
really nice guy as well.
The nicest, gentlest, most humble person.
Do you know the funniest thing about him though? Because he's
Bristol.
He's Bristol, and I often see him in a bakery around my brother's.
Right.
And Carol Vorderman, sort of bizarre, like
together. Or...
Yeah, well, not together, but I remember having a chat, him and Vorderman. I was like, God, this must be weird for somebody looking in to go, those three again.
What are they up to? What are they plotting?
Those classics. But he's a Stoic, and we were having a chat where he did my TV show, and he was sort of saying the great thing about being a Stoic is, I'm constantly here, I'm now, and I don't sort of raise my expectations, and I take everything that comes my way. He goes, it doesn't make me the best guest for chat shows. Do you know what I mean? Because he was, do you remember that? He was just so very kind of matter of fact, but he without that kind of, now tell me a funny, interesting story.
No, I
he was very kind of
But he's a magician.
So it's that thing of like...
Well, I mean, he started
He's a mentalist, I believe.
This is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, he's very honest and upfront with what he's doing, that it's a combination of that. But he is also... I mean, he can also do hypnosis. He's an incredible showman, and he's, he uses a lot of sort of psychological sort of
But that's what I mean, that showman, when he says these things, he probably isn't like... He's super clever, but he's not got some psychological belief. But I think his crowds, he's sold it so well, they believe he is somehow different.
It's really interesting, all that stuff. And he kind of plays on that a lot, definitely, in the more recent shows. But I remember seeing, I think one of his earlier ones, Something Wicked This Way Comes. I remember seeing it in the West End and overhearing someone in the toilet saying, well, he says he's not psychic, but I bet he is. As if that was the kind of thing that he'd hidden. That was the trick. Actually, he is secretly psychic, and that's the solution. But I think he is one of the most phenomenal magicians. But Paul Daniels as well. I grew up watching Paul Daniels.
Did you ever meet Paul Daniels?
I did. I met him 3 times actually.
I met him as well.
Did you?
Yeah, big energy.
Oh, good. Okay. I have a lot of very positive things to say about Paul Daniels.
No, I do. But it was one of the maddest conversations that we were doing. Fred Macaulay's Pick of the Fringe at Edinburgh years ago. And there were loads of sort of newspapers, because it was like an early morning breakfast show. And it was back in the era of like Page 3 and the Daily Star and whatnot. So like ladies with their boobs out on Page 3, and he was just kind of going fake, fake, fake. He was pointing at all the tits, going fake. And then he looked at me, I'd never met him, and he went, when we have photos of Debbie, she looks a lot better than these girls. And I just remember thinking, this is a moment. This is happening.
Debbie is phenomenal, by the way. Yeah. She is phenomenal. I met him as a kid, where I saw him at a charity show, and he he pointed me in the direction of a few like magicians in Leeds, who sort of, a guy called Harry Nichols, who sort of became my magic tutor, I guess, when I was sort of 15, 16. I would sort of go around sort of every sort of couple of weeks and just sort of learn some stuff. But he, and then I remember doing a gig in Durham. It was the Northern Magic Circle's, I want to say, 50th anniversary, and I was comparing their gala show. I think I was doing comedy at that point, actually. And Paul Daniels was sort of headlining it, and I'd seen a lecture that he'd done earlier in the day, and one of the things he talked about, and I really love this, is that he would say, one of the words of advice that he'd sort of given to these youngsters was, when you walk out on stage, don't sort of stand in the wings and walk out. Get as far back as you can, and then start walking to preempt it, and just start walking so that you're kind of in full stride and your body is sort of relaxed, and that you're kind of in full kind of energy first time the audience sees you, rather than sort of standing cold and sort of stepping out, which is, okay, fair enough. That's sort of good piece of advice. And I sort of do genuinely now try and do that occasionally if I can, because I sort of think, that's a nice sort of little foible, or a nice sort of way to sort of present yourself on stage, sort of in full flow. And then
risky if the announcer's got a stutter.
Yeah. Or you sort of like flat against the wall, trying to get as far back as possible. But then when I was comparing this gala that he was headlining, and I was about to introduce him, and I just looked off into the wings, and he was just sort of right in the wings, ready to sort of step out. And then I saw him clock that I had seen him and that he knew that I was at the lecture before, because we'd been talking about it. And he suddenly he sort of like ran back,
that's so funny.
and then kind of came out full stride, which really made me laugh.